reading something and just said, "Whoa"？
你有没有曾经就打开圣经，读到一些经节，就说哇
？Something suddenly just jumps off the page and right into your mind.
某一些字眼就突然跳出那页面，然后跳进你的脑海里面。
Sometimes God speaks to us through the men of God.
有时候神会透过他的子民对我们说话。
And so the question is, are you able to hear from him?
那问题就是说，你听得见吗？
Joseph, he's in the middle of this turmoil in his life.
那约瑟就在这个状况之下，
And he hears from God,
他听见了神，
and he had to hear and he had to believe in order for this prophecy to come true.
那如果要让这预言实现，他必须要听见并且相信。
You know, the prophecy was that Jesus would be born of a virgin.
那预言就是说，童女必怀孕生子，也就是耶稣。
And so Joseph had to dream the dream and understand the dream and believe that it was God.
所以约瑟必须要先有那异梦，并且相信那异梦，相信是从神而来的话。
Because if he didn't do that, then the prophecy wasn't going to come true.
因为如果他不这么做的话，那预言就不能实现。
See, Jesus was to be born of a virgin and into the house of David. In other words, in David's lineage.
那耶稣必须从童女而生，并且进入大卫的家，也就是大卫的子孙。
You know, he couldn't have been born into anybody else's lineage. It had to be, he had to be one of David's descendants.
他不能够在随便其他一个人家中生出来，必须要在大卫的子孙当中。
And Joseph is in the lineage of David.
那约瑟就是大卫的子孙。
Matthew chapter 1 verse 16, and Jacob. Oh, I'm sorry.
马太福音1章16节。
And Jacob begot Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom was born Jesus, who's called Christ.
雅各生约瑟，就是玛利亚的丈夫。那称为基督的耶稣是从玛利亚生的。
So the whole beginning of the book of Matthew is the lineage of Jesus.
所以马太福音的第1章整个就是提到耶稣的族谱。
From Adam to Noah.
从亚当到诺亚。
To Abraham, to David.
亚伯拉罕到大卫。
And all the way down to verse 16, where Jacob fathers Joseph.
一直到16节，雅各生约瑟。
Mary wasn't in the lineage of David.
玛利亚不是在大卫的子孙当中。
So Joseph had to accept Mary and the child.
所以约瑟必须接受玛利亚以及那小孩。
As husband and father, so that Jesus would fall into the lineage of David.
以一个父亲的身份，所以耶稣才能够是大卫的。
What an amazing amount of faith that must have taken.
那这需要多大的信心啊？
You,
那你呢？
has God ever called you to something difficult?
神有没有曾经呼召过你做一些困难的事？
You know, sometimes God has a purpose for us, and we look at that purpose and we think, man, that is hard.
有时候神对我们有一个目标，那我们会看着那目标就说啊，这很难哎。
And so we see that and say, well, that's not God.
所以我们就会觉得说啊，那不是从神而来的。
Because if it was God, it wouldn't be so hard.
因为如果是从神而来，应该是简单才对啊。
I've seen people that have turned down a calling of God because of the hardship of put on their family.
我看过人离开神的那命令，就是因为那命令太难。
The year that I got launched out of the church in Colton into Riverside.
那在我被送出来之前，那一年，我被送出到 Riverside 这个地方的那一年。
I wasn't my pastor's first choice to be launched out.
我不是我牧师的第一选择。
He had gone to another man and he said to him, you know, I want to send you out this year. I want to launch you into another city. And so I want you to start thinking about it.
他先找另外一个人，他就对他说：“我要把你送到一个城市，然后你要想一下，想不想要？”
And that man came back to pastor and he said, you know what, I don't think the time is right economically, and I think it would put too much strain on my family, and so I don't think now's the time to go. I don't think it's God.
那一个人就回来对我的牧师说：“啊，现在的经济状况好像不是那么好，然后我家人的状况也是还不适合，所以现在不是时机。”
He said, I want to wait until the economic situation in my life is more advantageous to me.
他就说：“我要等到我的经济状况好一点之后。”
Well, that was 9 years ago.
那是9年前。
That man still is waiting for things to become right, the right atmosphere for him to be launched out.
那一个人还在等待良好的时机，然后来出发。
See, pastoring a church is a call from God.
那建立起一个教会是神的呼召。
But that man, his heart wasn't tender to the voice of God at that moment, and he missed it.
但那一个人，他当时不想听见神对他说的，所以他丧失掉了那机会。
And so, you can ask your pastor, pioneering a church is not an easy thing.
你可以问你的牧师，建立一个教会实在是不简单的事。
There's difficulty there.
有很多的困难。
And then sometimes there's financial problems and all kinds of things that come up with this.
有时候有经济上的困难，有很多不同状况的困难。
God doesn't always call you to the easy things.
神不总是会呼召你去简单的事。
What would have happened if Joseph's heart wasn't tender?
那想一下，如果约瑟的心那时候是不愿意听见神的话，
What would have happened if Joseph didn't recognize the call in his life?
如果他不了解他的生命的呼召怎么办？
So what are you hearing from God these days?
那现在你听见神对你说什么话呢？
Is there a call that's on your life today?
因为你的生命中有一个呼召。
What would happen if you're called and you don't respond?
如果你生命中那呼召，那你不回应怎么办？
What would happen if God had a plan and a purpose that He wanted to set you into and you didn't respond?
如果神对你的生命有一个目标，一个理想，如果那你不回应的话，那会发生什么事呢？
Look at the book of Esther for just a moment. Esther chapter 4.
我们看到以斯帖记4章
Verse number 14.
14节。
At this moment, Israel is having great difficulty.
在这个时代里面，以色列正经历过一个困难的时期。
There's an enemy that's been given leadership in their country.
那有一个敌人，有一个领导身份在他们国家里面。
Actually, not in Israel, but the country that they're in.
不是应该说不是在以色列里面，只是在他们当时所居在的地方。
And this man's decided that he's going to kill every Jew that's in that nation.
那个人决定说他要杀死所有的犹太人。
And so God speaks to Esther.
所以神对以斯帖说话。
Listen to what happens here. This is God speaking to her through her uncle Mordecai.
那你听看后面发生什么事？他是透过他的叔叔对他说话。
Mordecai tells her, "For if you remain completely silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. Yet who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this?"
此时你若闭口不言，犹大人必从别处得解脱，蒙成就。你和你的父家必至灭亡。焉知你得了王位的位分，不是为了现今的机会吗？
See, God is going to do whatever God needs to do in order to see His plan play out.
所以神会用各种不同的方式来看他的计划实现。
And if you don't respond to the call, He'll bring it about through someone else.
如果你不回应那呼召的话，他会取用另外一个人。
But you know what? God uses us and He places us into a position sometimes because we are the one that He has chosen to have His plan play out through.
那神有时候选择了我们，把我们放在某个地方，就是因为我们完全是他所拣选的人来做这事。
God orchestrates events in our lives in order to put us into place to do something.
神计划了我们生命上的事物，才能够把我们放在某个地方来实现他所要做的事。
So Esther has to go before the king.
所以以斯帖必须到王面前。
And if you go before the king and he's not called you to come to him,
如果你到王面前，那他那时候没有呼召你的话，
you are in grave danger.
你就有一个很大的危险。
Because the penalty for coming to the king without being called is death.
因为如果你到王位面前但没有被呼召的话，那惩罚就是死亡。
Unless the king grants you that favor when you get there by pointing his scepter at you.
除非说你来到面前，那王可以赦免你。
And so this is a very dangerous, a very risky, and a very difficult situation that Esther is facing
也
here.
就是说，以斯帖那时候面对的是一个非常困难以及危险的状况。
She's putting her life on the line to go and intercede for the Jews.
他冒险来为了犹太人来做这件事，
It was dangerous, it was difficult, but she did it anyway.
非常困难、危险，但是他还是做了。
Have you ever heard the voice of God?
你有听过神的声音吗？
Would you even recognize the voice of God if He spoke to you?
如果神对你说话，你认得出来吗？
You know, one of the things that's hardest for Christians to remember
对基督徒来讲，一件事情很难记得，
is that God didn't save you just so you could go to heaven.
就是说神拯救你，并不是因为就让你上天堂而已。
God didn't call you into His service just for you.
神不是为了你而拯救你，
God calls us for His purposes not our purpose.
神呼召我们是为了他的缘故，不是为了我们。
Answering the call of God has never been easy.
回应神的呼召不总是那么简单的。
Moses had to face his fears and go before Israel and then go before Pharaoh to live out his call.
那摩西也必须面对他自己的困难，并且面对法老。
Gideon had to go into a battle against an army with 300 men.
那基甸也必须面对庞大的军队。
Joseph had to put away the fears and the reproach to be the man of God that God had called to be the. Wait, let me read this again because this doesn't make sense to even me.
再一次，刚刚好像没有说好。
Oh. Joseph had to put away his fears and the reproach to be the man God had called to be the father of the incarnation of God on earth.
那约瑟也必须放下他心中的那些惧怕，才能够当起那神接下来降下来的救世主的父亲。
So if we look back in history at those people and the difficulties that they faced in answering the call of God, what makes us think that God is going to call us to like an easy life?
所以，如果你看这些历史上这些回应神的呼召的这些充满信心的人，那为什么你会觉得说神对你的呼召是简单的呢？
You think God's call will be easier for us than it was for those men of God?
你觉得神对我们的呼召会比这些人还简单吗？
You think it's going to come without sacrifice?
你觉得会完全不用牺牲吗？
You think it will come without risk?
你觉得会完全不用冒险吗？
You know, one of the amazing things about Scott Mead is this.
那有一件事情有关于斯堪利牧师很有趣的事情。
Some of you may know him. He founded the Taiwan church.
有一些人可能认识他，他是之前创立桃园教会的牧师。
But a number of years ago, Scott originally went into mainland China.
那在几年前，斯考牧师他是先到中国大陆，
He was in the city of Guangzhou.
他在广州市里面。
But what happened was that the secret police, the government, infiltrated his church.
那时候有秘密的警察渗透到他的教会里面。
And one day he gets a phone call from the school that he works at, and his employer says, "You need to come to the school immediately."
那有一天，他的学校的老师打电话给他，学校校长打电话给他说，你必须要马上来学校。
And what had happened is that the government, police, wanted to question him.
那时候状况其实就是政府的警察要问他问题，
He was possibly going to be arrested.
他有可能就被逮捕。
At the time, he had 2 small children,
那当时他有2个小孩子，
and he and his wife were ordered to appear before these police officers.
那他跟他的妻子就被招进这个警察局里面，
He didn't know what was going to happen.
他完全不知道会发生什么事，
It was very possible that he'd be arrested and put in prison.
很有可能会被抓去关进监牢里面，
It was very possible that he'd be tortured.
那很有可能他会被凌虐，
There was even a possibility that he could be executed.
那甚至有可能会被处决。
And his wife faced the same fate.
那他的生命也面对了一样的问题。
But think about it. This man is in the middle of the will of God. This is what God had called him to do.
你想一下，这个人在回应神的呼召，他是在做神要他做的事情。
And now he's going to this school, and he knows that the police are there to possibly arrest him and put him in prison.
那他现在是在学校的路上，他知道有可能那里就有警察等着要抓他。
And maybe God needed his martyrdom.
或许神需要有一个人为他牺牲，
Maybe he wanted to use that to do something else.
或许他要利用这件事来做另外一件事。
And the interesting thing is that Scott knew as he went to China, as he left America to go to China, he knew that was a possibility.
那有趣的是，斯考牧师当他离开美国的时候要去中国，他早就知道会面对这个问题。
He knew the way the government reacted to Christianity.
他知道那边政府对基督教的反应是怎样。
As he's leaving America, he knows what he's facing.
他离开美国的时候，他就知道他已经面对这些问题，
But he took that risk.
但他还是拿起那个危机。
He took that risk because the call of God was on his life and he heard from God.
他愿意冒险，因为神对他的呼召。
How much more you and I?
那我们呢？
Here we are in a nation where it's worshiping God and Christianity is free.
我们在这国家里面能够自由的崇拜神，
We don't face the same persecution.
我们不是面对一样的困难。
There's other difficulties to being here.
那当然，我们在这里有其他不同的困难。
But how many of us are willing to take a risk
但我们多少人愿意冒险，
for the call of God?
就为了神呼召呢？